Another week down in Road to National season, and I think the data that we've gotten from this week solidifies my belief that we are currently in the most open meta that we have ever had since this time last year, I guess. It was all the way in Heavy Hitters. Heavy Hitters had, in my opinion, the most open meta and also the most fun meta that we've experienced in the game. And this is starting to live up to that because, of course, looking at week 1 in Road to Nationals, we had Viserai, Nu, Aurora, Syndra, and Arachne in the top 5 with a bunch of heroes right there alongside of them. Also, take a look at the numbers for week 1. We had like 14 wins being the top number for week 1. But if we look at the data for week 2, the numbers go way up. There were a lot more events that fired, and just look, before we talk about any one hero, just look at the amount of heroes on this screen. Look at the amount of heroes that won a Road to Nationals. Keep in mind that every hero listed in this won a Road to Nationals to play in their nationals across the world. Now, first of all, the numbers got more, like the numbers got bigger across the board. We made numbers go from one to the other. We made the number go to another number, and that's always what we want to do here. So if you want to also do that, make the number go from one to the other. Make the number go to another number. But the numbers got bigger. More people are playing the game. More people are qualifying Road to Nationals in week 2 than week 1. And still, some of those top heroes are there, but look at how many more heroes are joining the fray on this list. It's kind of crazy. Viserai, of course, continues to sit at the top spot. Still, probably the best aggro deck in the game right now. Has a lot of tools at his disposal to both push crazy big spike turns alongside of just some amount of disruption, which is pretty cool. And if you are expecting him to rotate, he did not rotate this week, and he very much, I think, will rotate next week. If this trend continues, and if this amount of events fires, he will indeed rotate. Not only that, but you also look at Syndra, and Syndra right behind him has taken over the second spot, with Nu falling to a very close third, and Aurora in 4th, and Arachne Marionette in 5th. So the same 5 heroes from one week to another. It's just that they did a little dance in that 2, 3, 4 spot. And this is more indicative of what I would have expected, because Syndra is just really, really good. And the more people that play her, I think the more people realize how potent she is as an aggro deck. And I'll just say it. At the end of week 3, I think Viserai is going to rotate, and I think Syndra is going to be the best aggro deck in the format going forward, period, end of story. I think Aurora is going to be a fine option, a fantastic option. And then there's going to be 2 assassins that are doing their darndest to try and disrupt those heroes. But look at who's waiting in the wings. 2 illusionists in the form of Prism, Awakener of Soul, and of course Enigma, Ledger of Ancestry, both gobbling up their fair share of wins. And then we have another aggro deck that many people, including myself, thought were going to be very good at the end of last year and have fallen off a little bit thanks to just some other powerful things being given to other people in the form of Dash.io. And then Zen, perhaps the biggest letdown. Again, I go and say I thought Zen was the best deck, and that's not the case because the numbers don't lie, and he is definitely further behind than Viserai, or Syndra in this case. But I also want to point out a couple of things. Vincent making some moves. Ira still on the board. Fi shows up. Verdance stays at the 2 to 3 wins. I think she had like 3 last week if we're looking. She's where on the board? She exists somewhere. No, she had 2, because I think she's at the bottom somewhere. Or am I just missing her completely? I am just missing her completely. I think she's at the bottom. But she has 2 wins. KO shows back up. I don't understand this. Kasai got 2 wins. If that's not indicative of show up and be good at your hero and you can win an open meta, a truly open meta, nothing else is. Because Kasai, like, what the heck, man? She's like one of the coolest heroes that just fell off the face of the earth because of a variety of heroes getting in her way. The nice thing is, I think her worst case scenario matchup was Enigma, an illusionist in general. And if you are looking at your meta and you see a lot of aggro decks, you can kind of play the defensive package, and you can get wins that way. You can grind out wins that way. But of course, for me, it was always cash in aggro, and then they just ripped that out from under us. Why? Because pirates are gonna do stuff with gold, people. Pirates are gonna do stuff with gold. So they had to take that away so that they could give us pirates. And you know what? I'm fine with that trade. I'm totally fine with that trade. But she's down there at 2 wins, along with Kano at 2 wins. And Victor. I will say this, Kano with 2 wins, not surprising because Kano can still just show up and like spike a tournament. But Kano and also Acilio, who's at the very bottom, in the very fine print at the bottom, got 1 win, are 2 wizard heroes that can do some insane things, but also can be very specifically hated out of the format with certain cards. And I think that's probably where like LSS wants wizards in a way, which makes me a little sad. Like the pure, I wouldn't even call Acilio a pure wizard, but Kano certainly a combo wizard in that sense. They probably want them in the realm of very powerful but easily hated out if the meta techs for it. Nevertheless, that's where they fall. But look at the pie chart. The sheer number of heroes that have placed is so encouraging to me that if you learn a deck, learn all its matchups, and then just make peace with a couple of the bad matchups that you're inevitably going to have when there's this many freaking heroes in the game, and then just go and play your heart out, you can win an invite to your nationals. Heck, Fang won a single RTN. What? Okay. Dorinthia did as well, though. I think Dorinthia has makes a case, like if you're playing Dawnblade and you're just racing, she's pretty fast, especially when decks like Syndra just don't want to block her at all. But yeah, I think this is an incredible sign for the meta that we're currently in. And let me show you this too. So here's the Living Legend leaderboard, and of course Viserai sitting at the top with 944 points. He would literally need, what, 56 points to make his way out, and I think he's averaging enough for that. I think he goes next week. I think he goes at the end of next week. Now I could be wrong though. Technically, hold on. He earned the amount of points that we saw on the picture, right? Oh, maybe he won't go this week. Maybe I'm wrong. Tell me in the comments if I'm wrong, because I think this means he earned 24 points. I'd have to think about that one. Is that what that? Yeah, because I think what they're doing is they're displaying the amount of wins they get is the percentage. Ah, that's right. It's the percentage. So technically, you would have to calculate out of this the percentage that he gets total. So I think he still rotates. Maybe he does next week. I think he does. Yeah, you would have to, I guess this would be 119 divided by 2 is like 60 essentially. So 59 points. So yeah, I think he would have to hit his average for the past 2 weeks in order to rotate at the end of next week. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. Correct me in the comments if I'm totally off base here. But I think he goes at the end of this week. And what does that do for the rest of the meta? Maybe it allows like the Enigma players to do a little bit better because Enigma doesn't have to deal with Viserai so much. Maybe Enigma steps up a little bit, which could be dangerous for a couple of these heroes. This could be also the reason that the meta is so open, because Enigma is being pressed down by an aggro deck that really is good against, like board state decks. So if that's the case, if Enigma is being gate kept to some degree by Viserai, then Enigma comes out to play and perhaps pushes a bunch of these other heroes down. But Aurora can still do some things versus Enigma, and people have pivoted a little bit off of her as it stands. It'll be interesting to see, because I know Syndra is also a very solid deck into an Enigma that's trying to build a board state, because it's just like you're going to have to deal with 3 and 3 and flick and 4 and 3 every turn, and you're not building a board state. So that's why Enigmas have sort of changed their build. Nevertheless, I do think that Enigma perhaps gains some percentage points in the meta with Viserai going out. Heroes that have gained a ton of points this season besides Viserai, I think the biggest one is Syndra. And a lot of this is not just because of Road to Nationals, it's also because she won 2 callings. So keep that in mind as well. If we take those 2 callings away, then Syndra doesn't have 196, she has 96 points. Still, that's equal to the amount of points that New, the first week second best deck in the format earned as well. So she's literally on pace to compete for that second best deck in the meta slot with New, who also, by the way, is making some strides but not going to cross the finish line yet. We still have a ways to go for New to actually get there. Kind of funny, with the way that Zen is trending, I don't actually think he crosses the finish line, perhaps even anytime soon. Is this a case where we have like a Viserai scenario where he hurdled towards, like, well, in Viserai's case, like halfway to the Living Legend status. He got to like 544, and then he just sat there as just a solid deck that never really did anything past that. Could that be the scenario that we are living in for Zen, the Tamer of Purpose? Or is he going to earn enough points over not just Road to Nationals season, but maybe the second ProQuest season as that goes? Maybe he even wins like a Calling or a Battle Hardened or something like that and starts to close the gap. Because if he picks up a Battle Hardened, he gets 25 points. If he somehow wins a Calling, which I don't know. I mean, he's making it to the Calling. That's the crazy part, is he makes it to the Calling pretty consistently. If he wins any of those, then he's literally on the precipice of going at any point. But it takes a season like this, weekly tournaments, and a lot of them at a smaller local level, for some of these heroes to really gain traction. Same thing with like a Dash Inventor Extraordinaire. There's never going to be a point, unless the meta shifts completely or pirates are mech pirates, and she gets support in the next set, that Dash is going to really budge from this point. So she's always kind of teetering at 940. But Syndra is the standout for this competitive season, and Arachne Marionette not doing too bad themselves, but Arachne is an interesting case because I don't think Arachne is going to be clawing their way to the top anyway like Syndra is. But if I'm looking at this meta, this is perhaps, this coming week's perhaps my last opportunity to sit down and play Viserai in Classic Constructed. So this is an opportunity for you to go out and give the purple guy his last hurrah. And for what it's worth, there's a lot of other heroes, it looks like, that you're going to be able to pivot to after this. Because, I mean, again, look at that graphic. That is a lot of heroes available to you, dear viewer. If you enjoyed this type of video where we just hang out and talk about the meta of Flesh and Blood, the best card game on the earth, make the number go to another number, because numbers going up is what you want to do. You want more people playing the game, make the number go up. You want more people giving Living Legend points to your least favorite hero so they get the hell out of here? Make the number go to the other number. I waited long enough to say a curse word. No one heard that, right? As always, everybody, thanks for watching.